Many people grow up thinking that optimism is the same as pretending life is flawless. They imagine it means wearing a forced grin, hiding every struggle, and acting as if nothing is wrong. But that's not genuine positivity. That's denial dressed up as courage. Authentic positivity isn't about shutting your eyes to difficulty. It's about standing face to face with challenges, acknowledging the sting of reality, and still saying, I choose hope. I choose progress. I choose to rise. True strength of spirit is built when we stop hiding from hardship and start walking through it with clarity. A bright outlook doesn't come from fake smiles. It comes from resilience, gratitude, and the small daily steps that remind us we are moving forward, even if only by inches. Think about the words of Nelson Mandela. He spent decades behind prison walls, yet he chose not bitterness but vision. His optimism wasn't born out of comfort. It was forged in fire. That's the essence of real positivity. Not ignoring the pain, but refusing to let pain write the ending of your story. So what does authentic optimism look like in everyday life? It begins with honesty. Admit what you're truly feeling, without filters, without shame. Write it down, speak it out loud, share it with someone you trust. Pain that is hidden grows heavier. Pain that is voiced begins to lose its grip. Once you've named the weight you're carrying, ask yourself one powerful question. What is one small action I can take today? It might sound almost trivial. Getting out of bed, making a healthy meal, calling a supportive friend, stepping outside to breathe in the fresh air. But these small steps are not insignificant. They're the first sparks of momentum. I remember reading about J.K. Rowling before the world knew her name. She was broke, a single mother, and barely holding things together. Yet she kept writing a few lines each day in cafes, even when the world gave her no guarantee of success. That wasn't denial of her struggle. That was real positivity in motion. The choice to act, no matter how small the action seemed. The myth that positivity means avoiding difficulty has trapped countless people. They try to bury their true emotions, thinking that strength means silence. But buried wounds don't heal. They expand, they harden, and they steal joy from the future. Real positivity doesn't silence your hurt. It whispers to you in the middle of it. This hurts, but it will not define me. I will learn. I will grow. I will overcome. And when you think of optimism in this light, you realize it's not about ignoring storms. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Now, here's the secret. Goals matter most during hard times, not after them. Many people believe that dreams are only for when life is stable, when everything feels smooth. They postpone ambition until the right moment arrives. But the truth is, goals are not luxuries, they're lifelines. When life feels uncertain, setting even the simplest target gives you direction. A goal as small as, I will treat myself kindly today, or I will take one step toward my passion, can keep you grounded when everything else feels shaky. Albert Einstein once said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." And he was right. When the world around you feels unstable, your goals become anchors. They remind you that progress, no matter how modest, is still progress. Think of Thomas Edison. He didn't wait for perfect circumstances. He failed thousands of times while inventing the light bulb. But each failure wasn't a dead end. It was a step forward, powered by the vision that light could conquer darkness. The point is this: positivity is not some magical trait you're born with. It's a decision you renew each morning. It's a muscle that grows stronger every time you choose to notice what you can do instead of obsessing over what you can't. When your spirit says, "Just survive the day," positivity replies, "Let's find one reason to thrive." When your mind says, "It's too heavy," positivity whispers, "Take the next step anyway." And here's what's amazing. Each choice compounds. Each decision to act builds resilience. Each moment of courage, no matter how quiet, creates a foundation that will carry you further than you thought possible. So remember this: positivity isn't fake smiles, it's authentic resilience. Goals aren't wasted energy in a storm. They're the compass guiding you through it. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about rising again and again, no matter how many times you stumble. You don't need perfect circumstances to start. You don't need approval, permission, or proof. What you need is the willingness to face today with honesty, hope, and one small step forward. That, my friend, is where real transformation begins. There's a common belief that resilience is something you either have or you don't. People look at others who seem strong in the face of adversity and think they were just born that way. But that's not true. Resilience isn't a genetic gift. It's not luck. It's a skill, a set of choices you make again and again until they become part of who you are. Think of it like building muscle. The first time you lift a heavy weight, your arms shake, your grip weakens, and it feels almost impossible. But if you keep lifting day by day, your strength grows. The struggle itself creates the capacity, and resilience works exactly the same way. Every obstacle you face, every moment you refuse to give up, every decision to keep moving, all of it builds an unshakable foundation inside you. Take Oprah Winfrey as an example. Her childhood was filled with challenges, rejection, and struggle. She could have let those hardships define her. Instead, she chose to learn from them, to rise through them. Today, her life's work proves that resilience is not about where you start. It's about what you decide to do with what you've been given. That's the beauty of resilience. It transforms pain into wisdom, loss into strength, and uncertainty into courage. So what does resilience look like in everyday life? It looks like choosing courage over comfort. It looks like showing up even when your voice trembles. It looks like finishing what you started, even when quitting would feel easier. Resilience is not perfection. It's persistence. Imagine Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming president, he faced business failures, political defeats, and personal tragedies. By all measures, he had every reason to quit, but he didn't. Each setback became part of the training ground that prepared him for the extraordinary role history would one day place on his shoulders. His life teaches us this. Resilience doesn't mean you never fall down. It means you always stand back up. Now let's get practical. How do you strengthen your own resilience? 1. Start small. You don't have to conquer the mountain in one step. Begin with something simple. Speak your truth in a conversation you've been avoiding. Commit to one new habit that challenges you. Say yes to something that scares you just enough to make you grow. 2. Pay attention to your self-talk. Are you your harshest critic or your most loyal supporter? The words you tell yourself during tough moments matter. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," say, "I can handle difficult things." It may sound subtle, but it changes everything. 3. View failure differently. Failure isn't a full stop. It's a comma, a pause, a lesson. Every great inventor, every pioneer, every world changer has failed. Not once, but dozens, even hundreds of times. What sets them apart is not luck, but the willingness to keep trying. I once read about Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC. Before his recipe became famous, he was rejected over 1,000 times when trying to sell it to restaurants. 1,000. Most people would have quit after the first 10 rejections, maybe even the first 100. But he didn't. That persistence, that refusal to let rejection be the end of his story, is resilience in action. And here's what's fascinating. The more you practice resilience, the easier it becomes to trust yourself. You begin to realize that no matter what life throws at you, you have the capacity to adapt, to grow, to find a way through. Another key truth: resilience compounds. Each hardship you overcome adds strength for the next one. Each challenge you face becomes preparation for something greater. It's like climbing a mountain. At the bottom, the path feels overwhelming, but each step upward makes the next one slightly more manageable. And eventually, you look back and realize you've built strength you never knew you had. But let's clear up one dangerous misconception. Resilience does not mean pretending you're invincible. It doesn't mean never breaking down, never crying, never admitting struggle. That's not strength. That's a mask. Real resilience is messy. It's human. It's being willing to bend without breaking. It's asking for help when the burden is too heavy. It's admitting when you're lost, and then choosing to keep walking anyway. Think of a bamboo tree. When storms come, it bends with the wind instead of resisting it. If it stood rigid, it would snap. But because it's flexible, it survives. That's the kind of resilience that allows us not only to endure, but to thrive. So the next time life feels overwhelming, remember this. Resilience isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to move through it. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to take the next step with courage, even if your hands are shaking. Because every time you do, you're not only moving forward, you're building a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. And that is the power of resilience. There's a quiet trap that holds countless people back, waiting for proof before believing in themselves. They think, once I succeed, then I'll have confidence. Once I achieve something, then I'll trust myself. But this mindset flips reality upside down. Confidence doesn't come after victory. Confidence is the soil from which victory grows. Every breakthrough in history, every invention, every masterpiece began with belief before evidence. The Wright brothers believed humans could fly long before they built the first airplane. Steve Jobs believed technology could change how the world connects before Apple ever shipped a product. They didn't wait for guarantees. They chose belief first. And because they believed, they acted. And because they acted, they created the proof. Think about this. Self-belief is not arrogance. It's responsibility. It's a conscious decision to trust your ability to grow, adapt, and find solutions, even when uncertainty surrounds you. Real confidence doesn't mean you're sure you'll never fail. It means you're sure you'll keep going if you do. That's the difference. Doubt says, "What if I'm not good enough?" Self-belief replies, "Even if I stumble, I'll rise again." Here's the truth. The voice in your head is the most powerful influence in your life. Every single day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you're having a conversation with yourself. And that conversation shapes your future. If you constantly tell yourself you can't, you'll stop before you begin. But if you speak to yourself with the same encouragement you'd give a close friend, you'll discover strength you didn't know was inside you. Instead of saying, "I'm failing," say, "I'm learning." Instead of saying, "I'm not good at this," say, "I'm not good at this yet." Small shifts in language lead to massive shifts in destiny. History is full of people who acted on belief before proof. Take Walt Disney. He faced rejection after rejection from investors and was even told he lacked imagination. Imagine that, telling Walt Disney he had no imagination. But he didn't let those voices define him. His own inner voice was louder. He believed in his vision when no one else did. Today, that vision has touched generations. That's the secret. Belief is the spark that lights the fire. Without it, nothing begins. With it, even the impossible becomes possible. But how do you build this foundation if doubt has been running the show for years? 1. Start with your words. Every day, repeat truths that lift you, not empty cliches, but affirmations that remind you of your resilience. A phrase like, "I can do hard things," repeated daily, becomes an anchor in tough times. 2. Celebrate small wins. Confidence isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in small victories, stacked on top of one another. Finishing a project, sticking to a commitment, keeping a promise to yourself. Each win whispers, "See, you can trust yourself." 3. Surround yourself with belief. The people you spend time with either fuel your doubts or strengthen your courage. Seek those who lift you higher, who remind you of your potential when you forget it. I once heard the story of Vera Wang. Before becoming one of the most iconic fashion designers in the world, she failed to make the U.S. Olympic figure skating team. She could have stopped there, labeling herself a failure, but she believed her journey wasn't over. She reinvented herself, entering the fashion world with no guarantee of success. Today, her brand is global. Her story is proof that believing in yourself doesn't erase failure. It transforms failure into redirection. This is why self-belief is so powerful. It changes how you interpret every setback. Without belief, rejection feels like the end. With belief, rejection feels like guidance. Without belief, failure feels like humiliation. With belief, failure feels like education. Without belief, closed doors mean you're not worthy. With belief, closed doors mean it's time to find another way. The events may be the same, but the meaning you give them changes everything. Self-belief is also contagious. When you walk into a room with conviction, others feel it. When you pursue your dream with consistency, others begin to see possibilities for themselves too. Your confidence doesn't just serve you, it inspires the people around you. And here's the best part. You don't need anyone's permission to believe in yourself. You don't need credentials, approval, or evidence. You just need to decide. Every act of courage, every risk taken, every mountain climbed begins with one whisper, "I believe I can." So here's the invitation. Stop waiting for proof. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop waiting for the world to validate you. Believe first. Act boldly. Trust that even if you stumble, even if you fall, the story isn't over. Because the moment you choose to believe in yourself, you unlock the door to everything else. For too long, the world has sold us a misleading picture of strength. We're told to stay tough, never let them see you sweat, or hold it all together no matter what. Strength, according to this myth, is about never crying, never doubting, never stumbling. But let's be honest, that's not strength. That's pressure, and it crushes people from the inside out. Real strength isn't the absence of pain. Real strength is the courage to rise after you've been knocked down. It's not about pretending nothing hurts. It's about moving forward even when it does. Think of a tree in a storm. If it stood rigid and unbending, it would snap. But because it bends with the wind, it survives. The branches may shake, leaves may scatter, but its roots hold firm. That's true strength, flexible, human, alive. And here's the truth. The strongest people you know are not the ones who never fall apart. They're the ones who do fall apart, and then piece themselves back together, one choice at a time. Let's look at an example. Consider Serena Williams. Throughout her legendary career, she faced defeats, injuries, and setbacks that could have ended everything. There were tears, doubts, and long recoveries. But strength wasn't in pretending those struggles didn't exist. Her strength showed in coming back, again and again, often stronger than before. That's the essence of strength. Not flawless performance, but relentless recovery. So, what does strength look like in everyday life? It looks like admitting when you're tired and resting instead of burning out. It looks like opening up to a trusted friend instead of carrying the entire weight alone. It looks like saying, "I'm hurting, but I won't quit." Strength isn't perfection. It's perseverance. And here's something crucial. When we hide our struggles, we isolate ourselves. We convince ourselves we're the only ones fighting silent battles. That isolation multiplies the weight of the pain. But the moment you allow yourself to be human, to say, "I'm not okay right now," something shifts. Instead of weakness, you tap into deeper strength. You connect. You heal. You move forward. Because vulnerability isn't the opposite of strength. It's proof of it. Let's pause here for a story. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, one of the most recognizable figures in entertainment, has spoken openly about his battles with depression. Imagine the pressure on someone admired for his physical strength, his discipline, his seemingly unshakable confidence. Yet his willingness to admit that he too faced darkness inspired millions. Why? Because it showed us that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about learning that even in brokenness, there's courage. Even in tears, there's progress. How can you practice this kind of authentic strength in your own life? 1. Allow yourself to feel. Don't rush to numb pain or hide behind a forced smile. Sit with your feelings. They're not enemies. They're messengers. They show you what matters most. 2. Express instead of suppress. Talk to someone you trust. Write in a journal. Pray, meditate, or simply say out loud what's weighing on you. Expression releases the weight. Suppression multiplies it. 3. Act after you acknowledge. Once you've honored your emotions, take a step, however small. Wash your face. Go for a walk. Finish that task you've been avoiding. Small actions rebuild momentum. The beautiful thing about strength is that it doesn't require perfection. In fact, perfection is a myth. Strength lives in the cracks, in the shaky hands that keep reaching forward, in the trembling voice that still speaks the truth. It lives in the parent who keeps showing up for their child after sleepless nights. It lives in the student who studies again after failing an exam. It lives in the dreamer who dares to try again after rejection. That's real strength. Ordinary moments of extraordinary perseverance. And here's the ultimate truth. Strength is not about being untouched by life. It's about being touched deeply and still choosing to rise. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every tear that falls clears space for healing. Every breakdown carries within it the seed of a breakthrough, if you refuse to give up. So, let's rewrite the myth once and for all. Strength isn't silence. Strength isn't pretending. Strength isn't never breaking. Strength is rising, again and again, no matter how many pieces you start with. Many people convince themselves that they'll start working on personal growth later, when life settles down, when things get easier, when the chaos finally ends. They imagine a future where everything is calm, and only then will they have the energy to grow. But here's the truth. Life rarely gives us those perfect conditions. Growth doesn't wait for peace. Growth happens in the middle of struggle. Think about nature. A tree doesn't pause its growth during a storm. The wind that threatens to uproot it forces its roots to dig deeper. The rain that lashes its branches also nourishes it. The very storm that seems to endanger the tree is the same storm that strengthens it. And that's exactly how growth works for us. When we experience hardship, it's tempting to believe we're failing. But often, that struggle is the very evidence that we're evolving. Difficulty is not a detour. It's the classroom where life teaches its deepest lessons. Look at Malala Yousafzai. At an age when most teenagers were simply trying to finish school, she was fighting for her right, and the right of millions of others, to be educated. Her challenges weren't signs she was on the wrong path. They were signs she was walking a path that mattered. Her growth didn't come after the hardship. It was born inside it. So here's the shift. Stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" The job you lose might teach you what you truly value. The relationship that ends might reveal what you really need. The failure that embarrasses you might uncover strengths you never knew you had. The lesson is always there, but only if you choose to grow instead of merely endure. Here's the beautiful paradox. Growth often looks like breaking at first. It looks like confusion, loss, and uncertainty. But underneath, transformation is quietly taking place. Consider Helen Keller. Born without sight or hearing, her life seemed destined to be confined by limitation. But within those very struggles, she discovered a voice that would one day inspire millions. Her growth didn't come from avoiding her hardship. It came from facing it head-on, with courage and with guidance. That's the choice we all face, to harden or to grow. Hardening makes us bitter. Growth makes us wiser. How do we choose growth in the middle of struggle? 1. Reflect instead of react. Take time to write, think, or pray about what's happening. Reflection turns chaos into clarity. 2. Seek wisdom. Read books, listen to mentors, and learn from people who have walked similar paths. Growth multiplies when you stand on the shoulders of others. 3. Turn pain into purpose. Ask yourself, how can this challenge not only make me stronger, but also help me help others? When you use your struggle to lift others, your growth multiplies. I once came across the story of Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks. He grew up in a poor family, watched his father struggle, and knew the sting of limitation. But instead of letting that story define him, he let it fuel him. The difficulties of his early life shaped his vision for creating a company that cared for its people in ways his father never experienced. That's growth in action, turning hardship into the foundation of something greater. Here's the truth. Some of the most profound growth you'll ever experience won't come from achievements or victories. It will come from seasons where you're stripped of everything you thought defined you. In those moments, you discover who you truly are. When the old ways stop working, you're forced to find new ones. When your heart breaks, you learn that hearts can heal, stronger, deeper, and more compassionate than before. When you think the storm has ended your story, you realize it's delivering the very transformation you need. So, don't wait for the perfect moment to grow. Don't wait for the storm to end. Your growth is happening now, in the middle of the noise, in the middle of the uncertainty, in the very challenges that make you want to give up. Every difficult day is a lesson. Every disappointment is a mirror, showing you what needs attention. Every step you take inside the storm is shaping the person you're becoming. The storm doesn't block your transformation. It delivers it. So lean into the struggle. Let it shape you, refine you, strengthen you. And remember, one day, you'll look back on the very season you thought would break you, and you'll realize it was the season that built you. One of the greatest misconceptions about strength is that it means carrying every burden alone. We admire the self-made individual, the lone wolf, the one who seems to need no one. Society tells us, don't show weakness, don't ask for help, handle it all yourself. But that's not strength. That's isolation. Real strength includes knowing when to reach out, when to lean on others, and when to say the bravest words of all, I need some help. Think about history's most remarkable achievements. None of them were created in solitude. Behind every great leader, every innovator, every change-maker, there were mentors, friends, supporters, and communities that made the impossible possible. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't march alone. He walked alongside thousands who believed in the same dream. Marie Curie didn't discover radioactivity in isolation. She collaborated, learned, and built on the knowledge of others. Even great athletes, from Lionel Messi to Simone Biles, rise because of coaches, teammates, and families who stand behind them. The truth is simple. Human beings are wired for connection. You were never meant to carry every weight on your own. When we isolate ourselves in hard times, our struggles grow heavier. A small worry becomes a catastrophe in the silence of our own thoughts. A temporary setback begins to look permanent. A single rejection starts to feel like proof that we're unworthy. But the moment we speak our truth to someone we trust, the weight begins to lift. Support doesn't always mean solutions. Sometimes it's a listening ear, a kind presence, or simply knowing someone else understands. Sharing divides pain instead of multiplying it. I think of Maya Angelou, who often spoke about the mentors and communities that gave her strength throughout her life. She said, "Nobody but nobody can make it out here alone." Her words remind us that needing support isn't a flaw. It's part of being human. When we open ourselves to connection, something powerful happens. Problems that seemed impossible begin to reveal solutions. Shame that whispered, "You're the only one," dissolves when someone says, "I've been there too." Fear that felt overwhelming loses its grip when shared with a trusted friend. So how can you build the kind of support that strengthens your journey? 1. Reach out honestly. Don't wait until you're at your breaking point. Share your struggles early and openly. People can't support burdens they don't know you're carrying. 2. Choose wisely. Not everyone will understand your path, and that's okay. Find those who lift you, who remind you of your worth, who believe in your potential when you forget it yourself. 3. Give as well as receive. Connection is a two-way street. When you support others in their storms, your own strength deepens. Helping someone else often reminds you of your own resilience. There's a story I love about Fred Rogers, known to the world as Mr. Rogers. He once said that when he was a child and saw scary things on the news, his mother would tell him, "Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping." That wisdom is timeless. Helpers are everywhere. Sometimes they're close friends, sometimes mentors, sometimes strangers who become allies. The key is to be willing to look for them and to let them in. Here's the final truth. Positivity, resilience, growth, and strength are deeply personal journeys. No one can walk them for you, but you don't have to walk them alone. The journey is yours, but the support can be shared. And when you embrace both your own courage and the strength of others, you become unstoppable. So, as we close this message, remember, positivity isn't pretending life is perfect. It's choosing hope in the middle of the storm. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about rising every single time you do. Strength isn't about silence. It's about honesty, vulnerability, and forward motion. A growth isn't waiting for calm weather. It's choosing to evolve right where you are. And connection isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the bridge that carries us through our hardest seasons. You are stronger than you know. You are more resilient than you realize. And you are never as alone as your doubts try to tell you. Every morning, you have a choice. Which voice will you let guide your day? The one that says, "I can't," or the one that says, "I will find a way"? Choose hope. Choose courage. Choose growth. And when the weight feels heavy, choose connection. Because together, with your strength, your vision, your resilience, and the support of those around you, there is no storm you cannot walk through, and no dream you cannot reach.